Call to order the November 9th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting of the Johnson City Regional Planning Commission. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight, especially my fellow commissioners, and hand the spokesperson over to Dr. Whitfield for his opening comments.
As we gather here today as members of our city, we pray that we'll be challenged to do our very best for all citizens in our community. May we focus our time and energy on the areas that we can improve, ever mindful that we share this time and this place together. May our hearts and thoughts be with those who are not able to attend tonight due to illness or supporting families during the pandemic. Amen. Please stand with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we have the agenda before us. Do we have any questions or concerns or changes to propose to the given agenda as it's presented?
That's the updated agenda that was sent out today.
It was this morning's the agenda republished today, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the minutes have been presented. Are there any changes to the minutes or any corrections? Does anyone want to suggest any questions? To the note, that would be the minutes of the October 12th meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor for approval and seconded, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move directly into new business. Ms. Voren, I think you're up first for a rezoning request for South Austin Springs Road.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, I bring in front of you a request to rezone a piece of land out at the county. It is 409 South Austin Springs Road. It is going from PRD, which is their planned residential 3, to A1, which is a general agriculture district. This piece of property right here is the property in question. You can see it's just under 5 acres of undeveloped land. It is adjacent to other agricultural district, and it is also adjacent to other PRD3 district as well. For this rezoning request, a concept plan is not required per the Washington County Zoning Ordinance. The owner has expressed interest in building a single-family home, and that is the intent, but as you guys know, this is not binding in any way because there is not a concept plan. And I included a little excerpt about the A1 General Agriculture District, just so that you can understand that the underlying intent of the agriculture district is to kind of combine the preservation of farmland with the residential district and allowing a little bit of urbanization in the agriculture land while still preserving the agricultural values. A neighborhood was held by Washington County. There was no one in attendance. Last time I spoke with the Washington County staff, there was no public input that had been given regarding this rezoning. Staff recommends approval because it is a fairly large tract of land. It's adjacent to agriculture. It's a good opportunity to preserve some of the farmland that we have. And here are a couple bridge plan policies that support that. And I will leave you guys with a vicinity map and a reminder that you are the recommending body on this, so you'll be recommending approval or denial to the Washington County Board of Commissioners.
All right, questions of staff?
I have a few. You said this would be kind of preserving as farmland. How does A1 do that? Because it's open to so many different uses.
Yeah, so we'll start off by saying this is Washington County's code, so I'm not as familiar with that code as I am with our code. But I think that the idea with the agriculture district is it's a little bit less intensive than the PRD3. And so you're still able to build things, but its underlying base and the intent of the zoning district is to preserve the land. and preserve the farmland. So potentially if somebody comes in down the line and they want to use that land for agricultural purposes, they're able to without coming before you guys for a rezoning request.
And it was my understanding the main purpose for this is that the applicant wanted to have a shed.
So the applicant has stated that a desire for this zoning district is to be able to house building materials and an accessory structure on the site before the actual house is erected. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So this is all necessary just so they can erect the shed.
Yes, and I will say, in my professional opinion, I think that A1 is still a good use for this land. I think that it is an opportunity, as I was saying earlier, to preserve the farm district. Given that it's a little under 5 acres, it's a little bit different than your typical single-family tract. So I see what you're saying as far as, yes, it is kind of going around in a way to, get to an end goal. But for a piece of land this big, I think that agriculture, I would say, is a bit more appropriate than even a smaller single-family district.
And my last question, thank you. And so just remind me why this is coming to us and then goes to the county? Or why is it just not going straight to the county?
I am not incredibly familiar with the practices of our extra jurisdictional boundaries.
Mr. Ryder?
No worries, that's a bit tricky question with the jurisdiction, but this is a regional planning commission, so this is within our planning region. And so you all are the recommending board. Since it's within our regional planning commission, then it will go to the Washington County Board of Commissioners for final approval.
Okay.
So even, it works just like the process for our city commission, except you're still the recommending board. But it
Doesn't
goes to-
Washington County have their own planning commission?
They do, but for properties that are within our planning region.
Okay.
That are within our planning region, you're the recommending.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
board of approval.
Are the homes that are between this property and Austin Springs Road, are they in the county or are in the city? I mean, they're in the county, but are they in the city also?
Are they in the, what was that?
Are they in the city?
No, they're in the county.
The homes are?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just only on observation, I think, just to take on what Dr. Whitfield said, a number of things can go in there. A landing strip could go in there, daycare, childcare, a number of factors. So, and this property abuts right up to the back of these homes. So, if something's developed there other than what the intent was, the county will have to deal with that. But
Right.
just to say, it's not, there's no guarantees on anything that could be built there.
Right, absolutely,
That would
especially
be
with no
good.
binding concept plan.
Right.
Right, so sorry, go ahead.
I had a question regarding kind of wording, as I was reading through these documents. I appreciate all the stuff that was sent for us to look over. The term dwelling, does that mean someone has to live in that house? Because how it's zoned right now, you can have 2.4 dwellings per acre. So they could essentially build a home on this without, changing it. But if they had to have a shed, I guess that's the whole reason, is because that's not a dwelling.
That's
Is that
correct.
right? Okay.
Was there discussions between county staff and the owners of the property about choosing A1? And was it the idea of county staff, or was it?
I am not sure of the interactions that took place. I believe the applicant is here and can speak to that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for staff?
So just to be clear, we approve this as A1 if we did that tonight. There's no binding concept plan. So they could theoretically, not saying they would, but they could theoretically sell it at some point and someone else could put a landing strip, a gun range, and a gas station on it.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Hopefully all three, right?
Since the applicant's here, why don't we have them address us?
Any other questions for staff? I'll open the floor for public comment and invite anyone up to the podium who would like to speak to the question. And if you come up, would you please give your name and address?
Hey, I am Amber Calhoun in showing for Carolyn Nelson. She is my mother-in-law. She purchased, my husband and I have purchased the land, and it is in her name. And it is our intent to do a single-family home. This is hopefully gonna be our forever home. But like we did say, we do want sheds on there. We literally cannot go in and build anything to protect lumber or any kind of building material as we build slowly. He's in construction, so we're gonna be building it by ourselves, hopefully, as slow as we can with cash, fingers crossed. But we literally cannot buy and store anything at this point because it is zoned for PRD3. The owners who we did purchase it from had it zoned for multifamily homes. He was gonna put apartment buildings or HUD houses back there. That's why it is zoned PRD3 right now. We do want horses, goats, whatever, but this is just gonna be our single-family home.
Do you
Fingers crossed.
anticipate these structures being not permanent, or do you plan for them to be permanent?
The one structure is definitely gonna be a garage.
Okay.
That was gonna be our first goal, is to build a garage first. That way, we can convert it to an actual car garage once the house is built. But it would be there solely for storage.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's very helpful, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Scott, sorry, one more question. Was it your idea or was it the county's to suggest A1?
County suggested A1.
Okay.
We were going through the process of building permits and what we can do next as far as starting to excavate, and we can't do anything with it besides a single-family home. And then, obviously, we can't do that without
Sure.
the whole construction loan type route. And that's not what we choose right now.
That's a good plan.
Thank you
We're
very
hoping.
much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment from anyone else in favor of or to speak against the proposal? Seeing none, I'll close the floor for public comment. Any other discussion amongst the commission? Questions or?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Motion to approve the rezoning request.
Second?
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion about the motion? The motion is to approve the rezoning request for 409 South Austin Springs Road from PRD 3 to A1. Heidi, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbine.
Yes.
Oceanbine, I'm sorry. Commissioner Rothy,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. Ms.
Look.
Hodges, I think we have another topic. This is 1503 Bryant Lane, a rezoning request from RP3 to R4. Is that the right one?
However, I have so many classes, so all is fun.
All right. So this rezoning is going from RP3 to R4. What they would like to do is to add on to the retreat. So they have this parcel here that does have a private easement access that came over when it was annexed. This is the main intent of this rezoning, but however, while they have, so to speak, the engine open, they noticed that this piece right here is also not properly zoned. So it's really these two pieces. So when they were doing their final plat work and their construction work, they needed to kind of fix this. There will be an addition of technically 17 additional apartment units. This one right here is in the line, so that's why it makes the 17th. The access for this will not be through Bryant Lane. It will actually be through the existing retreat, so that all of that will come out on to Indian Ridge that way. They are essentially, for intents and purposes, abandoning the easement. It's a private easement, so it's nothing that we need to take any action on. But just to show you about that easement of where it comes down this way, it's a gravel road that goes through a parking lot, is how that is arranged. The current land use is saying that this is single family. This would be part of the multifamily. And then just to show you some pictures, this is the entrance that they would use, kind
kind of an example of what's, or if you didn't have a chance to visit the site, an example of what's being built out there, and then currently what's there, which is a single wide trailer that they'll be removing. And you can kind of see where construction, probably not the best angle, construction's going on right around there. But that gives you an idea of what Bryant Lane looks like, in case you had questions. Staff recommends approval. There was a neighborhood meeting and one person did come. It was the adjoining property owner that's adjacent to the single wide trailer. He's in favor of it he had some questions about the easement and he got to work that out with the applicant. But there's some arrangements there. And I'm available for any questions and the applicant is here if you have some additional questions for Mr. Phillips.
Thank you for including the citizen comments in the notes. That's great.
Whitney, what was his main concern about the easement?
It was, let me go back to kind of of where that they were abandoning it, of who would have access, because he knows that he doesn't need to get back to here.
Okay.
That's basically what that easement says, but
Okay.
it stops at his, but it doesn't actually affect him at all.
Okay.
Because
Thank you.
that easement's there to get to Indian Ridge, not necessarily to go to the adjoining property.
And both of these properties to be rezoned are both RP3 currently?
Yes.
Behind the larger tract, there's property behind it, but then there's the railroad that runs through there.
Let me go back to
Correct, that's where we are. Okay.
Yeah, it's right behind it.
Yeah, let me go back to an aerial. I think, yeah, you're right. This is the railroad and this is State of Franklin. But there's still a track here. It's in the county.
Okay. Any more additional questions for staff? All right, I'm going to open the floor for public comment. If the property owner is interested or developer is interested in speaking, or if someone else is interested in speaking to the question. All right, discussion amongst the commission. I'm going to close public comment, seeing nobody's raising their hand.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
Motion to approve rezoning 1089 of 1503 Bryant Lane.
Second motion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion about the motion? All right, the motion is to approve the rezoning of 1503 Bryant Lane from RP3 to R4. Seeing no additional discussion, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbine,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman Degenhart.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
All right, Ms. Hodges, we've got 1105 Embreville Road topic up next.
All right. So this one has made some changes even since the neighborhood meeting. So I'm going to go over what this request is. It's essentially a request from R2 to R2C. And what they have done is decrease their size of what they've asked for in the rezoning. So the staff, the size you have in the staff report is different than what I'm going to show you. And it's kind of a decision for the board to decide whether to go ahead and take action tonight or defer it if you would like to. But essentially, they're taking this about 0.84 acres to the best of my ability and dividing it into 4 single-family lots. I'm going to go through the whole history of this. So originally, we were approached in, I think it would have been the March deadline, so it was in March, to do a multifamily development. And it was 11 townhomes, and there was a neighborhood meeting, and Mr. Begley was there, and the neighbors came out and said multifamily is not what their road is about. It's not what it's an adjacent kind of use. And so it took Mr. Begley a while to kind of figure out what he wanted to do next. And so he proposed what is in your packet, which is 5 lots on 1.74 acres. Now they're configured in a way that it would kind of like when we've looked at other properties, that it needs some flexibility in the low density in order to kind of maintain that. Last night, I got an updated plan. He's going to sell what is essentially Lot 5. I don't know why that's not working. Essentially Lot 5 to the adjoining property owner. And so those would be combined, but maintain the 4 lots here, but they become a little bit wider by about 4 feet, and they increase in square footage, some to up to 2,000, some to 3,000. So on average, it's going to be about 9,500 square feet, or minimum is what I've got in an email. But this is from an email. They have not done they've not drawn it out other than this scaled drawing, which would be their concept plan if approved. But one of the main questions is, well, what does this really mean between R2 to R2C? Because it's a subtle difference. So he would still need R2C because of the lot width at the build-to line, and that's actually how it's written. It's not always at the street front. It's for this one, it's at the build-to line or the building frontage line. So R2C would be what he would request, but the lot sizes would be in the R2B range. But this kind of gives you a breakdown of how it gets a little bit smaller as you go from R2 to R2C. Notably are the side setbacks get a little bit smaller, and in that last one, the rear setback gets a little bit smaller. Front setbacks are the same across, but those lot widths do get smaller. Now, at this particular neighborhood meeting with the 5 lots, I kind of want to go to just so you know, we'll go through the current plan. We can come back to that. If you have not had a chance to look at it, it's a rather large kind of lot on Embreville Road. But over here in Rosehaven is an established neighborhood where it's an R2. On average, I'm going to say that their lots are about 15,000 to 16,000 square feet. Their lot widths are about 90 feet wide, which was, at that point in time in this style of development, pretty typical. So when it comes to infill lots, what we're looking, because that's really what this is that we're looking for something similar in character and something that still maintains a low density. And I believe that this proposal does. So the neighbors had a lot of questions about some things that we can't really regulate, like square footage of the actual house. It's not something that we can do. We can say lot widths and lot areas, but when it comes to single family, we don't have a lot of say in that. Mr. Begley did talk about what he would like to build, but he also could sell the lots to a different builder that may build something different. There was questions about whether they would be rented or owner occupied, and a lot of kind of stylistic questions of whether they'd be 1-story or 2-story. In the residential districts, you can go up to 35 feet in height, but that's in any residential district. So if one of their neighbors wanted to tear down their house, any residential district can go up to that in height. Staff recommends approval, but if I do want to caution that you want to talk to Mr. Begley, and I want to make sure that you all are comfortable with a concept plan that will work, but is not to the level of detail as the one before and has not been through the neighborhood meeting process. There are many neighbors here to speak, but they have not seen this. This came in at 6:10 last night. So I am available for any questions, so is the applicant. I know there's public that would like to speak.
Questions for staff?
I'm a little confused about something you said, and I probably misunderstood you, but you said something to the effect, if we can go back to the example of showing the R2 and the AB, you mentioned something about the fact that it was something was R2C, but it was more R2B.
Because of the lot square foot. So the thing about the R2s is there can be some flexibility. So the square footage, the minimum square footage that he is proposing is 9,500 square feet, which you would say, oh, that's an R2B. But the lot width is 64 feet. So that's a minimum. So it has to fall into the minimum category of R2C in order to keep that lot width.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to be asked to approve a concept plan that's not correct, that's in the packet.
Correct.
So I'm quite honestly, I would prefer to defer this until the new concept plan can be developed.
Okay.
And the neighbors can hear this with the new design. It's just, you know, we don't approve things on faith in here. At least I don't, and so that would be my preference.
I would agree.
Since we've got people, the other comments for staff before I open the floor for public comment?
Steph, I have one question. Did you guys have any reservations when you were out at the site about the road access for lots 3 and 4?
Okay, I meant to mention that. I got really sidetracked with the fact the plan changed. So this has to be this has to come before you again as a final plat.
Right.
So driveway, like design, like
We
where
did
driveways are.
preliminary plat too, is that correct?
Preliminary plat. So it's got to come to you for that, so that's when we will discuss driveways. Yes, there are issues with how the 5 lots were laid out.
Yep.
So has engineering had a chance to look at the 4 lots? No.
Okay.
So, but they would only do a cursory review because it's a rezoning. What really is important at this stage is whether you think the change from R2 to R2C is appropriate.
Okay, so I guess 2 questions. One is that the lot sizes now are bigger, so they're longer and wider
Yes,
by a little bit.
by a little bit.
Okay, so those are not really changing the 1 through 4. And then my second question was about the sidewalks, because there's no sidewalks in this area.
They would need to either
They would have just
provide
little sidewalks right in front?
provide sidewalks, or if they meet the fee in lieu, they would do the fee in lieu.
Okay. Great.
And then my next question's for Mr. Mitchell. Can we defer this and that we have a 30-day, or how does that work?
You're not under the same limitation as the Historic Commission.
Okay,
Different situation.
okay.
Yeah.
So we can defer and just wait a month or until the
Yes.
community
You
meeting?
want to defer it to a date certain, to a specific date. Yes.
Well, I'd like to be respectful of the people who have turned out, so I'm going to open the floor for public comment for anybody that's here to speak to the question, knowing that we're probably going to defer, but I welcome you to come to the mic and identify yourself with the name and address and give your comments.
Sure. Good evening. Can I move this, Whitney? And just send it back to you? Good evening. I'm Susan Kellogg, and I reside at 2218 North Greenwood Drive. So my property. Can I? Yeah. It'll be a little easier to point. My property is right here. And I'm here tonight to oppose the rezoning of 1105 Embreville Road from an R2 to an R2C. When I purchased my home in October of 2020, the Uniform Residential Appraisal Report stated that R2 zoning is expected to continue as the highest and best use for the neighborhood in the foreseeable future. Appraisal value and zoning were high levels of consideration for me when I made the decision to purchase that property. And again, what we heard from Whitney tonight and the new proposal that came through, or the concept that came through yesterday at 6, I had no idea about. But Whitney has said that 6 months later after I purchased, Mr. Gerald Bagley, working with JC Development Services, applied to rezone the above-mentioned property from an R2 to an R3 to allow for 11 multifamily units to be built. Mr. Bagley's rezoning and concept plan was met with opposition from the community at the rezoning neighborhood meeting on April 5th, 2021. 16 days later, on April 21st, the community was notified that Mr. Bagley had pulled his rezoning request. On November 9th, I and community members met with Mr. Bagley and Development Services Director Preston Mitchell and consultant Whitney Hodges to hear a new proposal to rezone said property from an R2 to an R2C. Questions of compatibility, use, ownership versus rentals, and price point were met with vague or no response. Within 1 week, I, along with 43 of my neighbors, signed a petition to oppose the rezoning of this property. My concerns broadly are the health and safety of my neighbors and my neighborhood. I see the rezone increasing congestion on narrow streets and intersections, traffic and parking issues, overcrowding of land, R2C, our smaller lots, and adverse issues about retention or detention ponds, and the sustained stability of my current neighborhood, the conserving property values and compatibility of the structures that we currently have. I'm apprehensive with rezoning this property as an R2C, as it may set a precedent for lot number 5, which we found out tonight is now going to be sold, of Mr. Bagley's proposal to be sold and subdivided further, along with the possibility of rezoning requests for the property just below Mr. Bagley's, owned by Mr. Rusty Wilson. So Whitney has shared tonight that Mr. Bagley is selling this property, this number 5, which you have on your drawings right here, to Mr. Wilson, Rusty Wilson, who owns this property right next to mine, and Mr. Wilson lives right here. So I am apprehensive that this may be a domino effect that might take place, where all of a sudden that whole area becomes an R2C. And with respect to the time and cost, Mr. Bagley and the Johnson City Development Services staff have spent planning best use of this property, I do believe it would benefit the community and Mr. Bagley to move forward with subdividing the property for 3 lots and retaining the current zone as an R2. To end, I ask the commission to consider the benefits of the community over the builder and refer to the Johnson City Planning Commission's bylaws, Article 11, Sub F, application for rezoning request. It states, the applicant shares a brief presentation on how this zoning change would be for the community benefit rather than for the benefit of the individual requesting the change or the person or persons owning the property. And as of today's date, I have not been presented with any benefits for our community, our neighborhood, that would allow me to support Mr. Bagley's request. So I thank you for your time as commissioners and for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keller.
May I say something to you?
Ma'am, she had a question.
No, I don't have a question. I simply want to say thank you for this well-planned presentation and opening the floor for thought. Thank you.
All right. Any other comment, please? Sir, go ahead. If you'll please give your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is John Fine. I live at 1016 Embreville Road in Johnson City, which is kind of catty corner from the property in question right now. Considering some things have changed before this meeting that we didn't know about, I apologize for the layout of my, I guess, speech per se. I'm not a public speaker, so I apologize. You'll just have to bear with me. I have lived in the area for about 23 years. My property was my grandparents'. The property next door to me was her parents'. The property next door to her, he has lived there for probably before I was born. So there's several others in the community that have been here for quite a long time. And from what we're getting from the community, we really don't think that this change should happen. As I'll go in to what I've written down here, may explain a little bit more. The way the R2 zoning, or the R2 zoning is right now, set up for 1,500 or 15,000 square feet, you can mathematically put 4.99 houses on this lot. Now, again, that was before it was stated that partial of the, or parts of the land was going to be sold off. So it's not unreasonable to have roughly 4 houses on that initial size of a lot, and it be pretty comfortable. Going on, given the feedback that Mr. Begley at the neighborhood meeting, this is what we did know at that time, was roughly the 5-lot layout. Again, what we were told before, speaking with Mr. Begley, the 4 lots initially right off of Embreville Road, and the 5th lot, which was going to be at the time, no plans for development at that time. What we also knew was roughly the the houses or the structures that were going to be built were roughly going to be 3-bedroom, 1.5 to 2 baths. Now, given the R2C zoning for 6,000 square feet on those properties, I was looking at roughly housing that would be anywhere from 2,600 square feet to 3,000, which is very large homes for that small or that narrow of a lot, because you only have a 60-foot, or you have a 60-foot minimum requirement for that lot, which is kind of tight. So once doing all the math, you figure your offsets, your back sets, your front sets, and everything else. These houses, first of all, would be roughly about minimum double the size of my home, which is roughly 1,290 on Embreville Road. The frontal area of the house, once you consider the setbacks, as far as the width of the house itself, 54 to 69 feet is what you would have in the front of the house. Once you add a garage, and again, I'm assuming this, I'm no contractor or builder, you're going to have a garage worth roughly 12 foot wide for a single car garage. Well, you've just shortened that width even more. You start shortening that down by 12 feet, then you're roughly only looking at what, 2 rooms in the front part of that house with a garage. That only leaves 3 options for the size of these homes. Either he's going to have to build further back, he can't go out to the sides, he's going to have to go up, or back and up. As far as 2-story homes in the local community, there's one. It was built before my home, pre-1955. So anything else other than what we have in our community, which are mainly ranch-style houses, carport, or single garage, is really going to look at a place if it's definitely a 2-story. Even building back further long-wise than it is wide, it throws the whole, really the community off as far as the aesthetics of it. I think several of us also might be a little leery with, again, we were just told that these homes would be sold, not rented. Again, they can do anything they want to. I mean, we can't stop that. The only thing that we can stop is the size or the quantity of homes by denying the rezoning, or the board denying the rezoning and keeping it as R2. That pretty much so limits him to about 4 houses for that initial lot size, not for R2C, and for that 1.74 acres. That's pretty much so all I have. I apologize for my lack of speech skills. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Very good analysis. Thank you. for
Thank you.
making it
Appreciate
clear.
it.
I do have
Yes,
just
ma'am.
one quick question. The neighborhood that's out there, is it a residential neighborhood that has covenants that restrict certain kinds of houses from being built?
No, ma'am. To the best, there's no HOA or anything that I know of personally that would restrict those homes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Is anyone else here to speak to the question in favor or against? Please give us your name and your address, and if you'll pull the mic down a little closer, thank you.
Theodore Sims, 2206 Wendale, in opposition. During the initial meeting that was held last week, 1005 Harding was put up as an example of the current R2C zoning, just so we could get an example of it. The streets in this particular area, Harding, Lincoln, Johnson, they're 28 feet wide. Wendale is 19 feet wide. Embreville is 16 and a half feet wide. So you're talking about, you're talking about a much smaller area where you can have parking. And you can't have on-street parking legally on Wendell or Embreville. So you're going to be putting more of the parking onto the lots themselves. Mr. Begley's requirement is not that he tell us what he will be building on the property, but I have made some assumptions based on what he stated previously, which was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and he is preferring to sell these properties as opposed to rent them out. The reason I bring this up, he was originally going to rent out the townhomes, the 11, but we've moved past that. So selling the homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. One house can be sold, and it could very conceivably be sold to a person who's going to rent this home out to other people. Close proximity to the university, it is highly likely that university students will be renting this property. You've got 3 bedrooms in this one house, 2 people per room, that's 6 people in one house. And taking that forward, that's going to be 6 cars in the regular parking spaces that are going to be required. So with no legal street parking available on Wendell or Embreville, this lot is going to get crowded very quickly. When you multiply that by the original number, 5, now it's 4, you're still having a very crowded piece of property. So now I'm going to shift to a different neighborhood entirely. 1.5 miles down Greenwood is the cottages at Greenwood. D.R. Horton, $260,000 to $300,000 homes. There are 61 home sites. They're selling these very quickly. D.R. Horton, in all of their wisdom, was able to determine that they could come into this community, make a profit selling these rather standard homes. If you were to take 3 custom homes on this revised plan, custom homes, and set them out across these 4 lots, but you don't have to change the zoning. You can make it 3 lots, and Mr. Begley is able to make a profit. The neighborhood's concerns of parking and regulation in terms of population density, they're all going to be addressed. Thus, everyone benefits with this plan. My name's Theodore Sims. I am in opposition to this proposal. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sims.
Mr. Sims.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone that come forward, please? Mr., your name and address, and could you please limit your comments to 3 minutes?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is A.J. Babel. I reside at 2217 Wendell Road, which is the adjacent property right here. I've lived there for 8 years, married with 4 young daughters. We enjoy the community and very thankful for the neighborhood. But in regards to this rezoning request, I oppose it really for 2 reasons. One, I think it's unnecessary. And 2, I don't think it's to the benefit of our community. So first, it's unnecessary because the property can be developed as it is. It can be developed under R2. It can be subdivided with, I don't know, 2 or 3 lots, I would imagine, built on that lot under the current zoning that would fit very well with the neighborhood. And so to develop the property, it doesn't need to be rezoned. And so I just find it to be an unnecessary thing in kind of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It seems to be good. It was purchased as R2. Most of the surrounding area is R2, so R2 seems to be a good fit. Secondly, I don't really see this as benefiting our community. This is something that Susan alluded to earlier, is that your bylaws suggest that the presentation should display how it benefits the community, the neighborhood, not just the owner. And at this point, I've not been convinced or persuaded to that end. I don't think much has been said or presented to that end as well. I do think if the property was developed, again, subdivided and developed under R2, it would benefit the community. It'd be fine to have a couple houses there. But to subdivide it into these smaller lots, again, the lot, just doing the math with the revised plan, I think it's about 60% the size of my lot, which again is right next door. So it seems to be taking kind of what the most common size lot is in our area and shrinking it down just to get more houses in there, when it seems to make more sense. Why not just go with what would be more fitting of the community? of the area that's already there. Susan alluded to the traffic as well. Embreville is essentially a one-lane road. If you ever drive down it, you'll notice that. It gets super narrow at one point, and there are cars parked along the street, so it's really just a one-lane road, and that would not be helped by this. And so, as Planning Commission members, I ask you all to deny this because it's neither necessary nor to the benefit of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comment? All right, I'm going to close the floor for public comment and offer for the commission to ask questions amongst themselves or discuss.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, is the developer here, Mr. Bagley?
Mr. Begley, are you here?
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
You have to open it
I
back
hold
up.
my
again.
motion.
Let me open the floor for Mr. Begley because do you have any comments or would you entertain questions from the commission?
Sure, yes, I'll entertain questions.
Thank you. Would you guys like to ask him questions, or would you like?
Well, and the reason I asked for deferral is because we don't have the proper plan in front of us.
Yeah, my planner was out of town when the neighbor decided he would like to purchase some of the property.
So R2B is somewhere in between of what we've been talking about with that zoning, and staff may have to step in here, I guess. If it were to go to R2B, would there be enough room on R2B to put the 4 houses that he's talking about, or 3 houses?
That is asking me to do some quick math.
Okay, that's all right.
I'm gonna need advice for that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mr. Begley, I mean, there've been a lot of assumptions here from the neighbors who have spoken up about rentals and
Right.
college students and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any comments to
Well,
kind
I
of help
mean-
us understand what you're gonna do with the property?
Yeah, you know, we can't determine who's gonna live there. That's in any neighborhood. You know, they're worried about rentals. I guess that's because I have rentals, so that's what they're worried about. But, you know, even in an R2 zone, your neighbor can rent their house. I mean, that's just something we can't control. So I don't think that's gonna be an issue with these. These are gonna be, even though they're smaller lots, they're gonna be nice houses, and they're gonna exceed the value of the houses that are there.
And Mr. Begley, the neighbor who bought Lot 5, was he interested in buying the other remaining lots as well, or you just? were
No,
holding on to
he has the adjoining property,
Right, but did he want to buy all of it, or just the number 5 lot?
just that area,
Okay.
yes. And his part will remain R2.
Okay.
And one of the results of that transaction would be that you no longer need to leave access onto Embreville
That's
Road
correct.
for Lot 5, and you could spread that across the other lot.
That's correct. That increases the frontage of the lots.
And it raises the frontage to about 63 feet,
64 feet and
64
something,
feet
yeah.
about for each
Yeah.
lot.
The planner will be back tomorrow and we'll finalize this.
And where your question is complex is that if you went straight across Embreville, it's 3 lots. But there is also a portion of Wendell that has right-of-way frontage. One of the reasons that we were trying to stay off of Wendell is I'm gonna go to the aerial, actually. Which one? There's a driveway here. And we didn't want to impact a driveway, an existing, that's been there. So that was one of the reasons to kind of focus some of the interest, trying to get as many driveways onto Embryville. But at the same time, we know that we just want to stay away from that driveway, is what we're trying to do when developing. So I'm going to say that under R2B, it's 3, but it depends on how it's configured. Because if you went by, and one thing just so that, it's just one thing that I want to clarify, because I did the math like 6 times. In GIS, the lot shows at 1.72 acres, which would give you 4.99 lots. But his survey, which is what we would take because it's a new information, which is 1.74, squeaks it into 5 lots with the 15,000 square feet. So that also plays into this of how you design it really does matter.
Thank you, Mr. Begley. Any other questions of Mr. Begley?
Mr. Begley, one more question for you. Did anyone else in the community confront you asking to buy the other 4 lots?
No.
No, okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Begley. All right, I'm going to close the floor for public comment and see if we're going to revisit where we were with this question.
I'll move to defer this to the December meeting when the new plat, new concept design, is completed, and bring it back to us.
A second.
Did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. All right, conversation or discussion about the deferral to the December Planning Commission meeting with expectations that this will be revised into a more formal form.
Let me add to that too, and spend time with the neighbors. Another
neighborhood
meeting on
meeting.
that with the new concept plan.
Commissioner Rhodey, do you agree with that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbain,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman Degenhardt.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. All right, Ms. Hodges, I think we have another rezoning request on Lynn Road.
This request is for a particular property that is current, oh, that is the wrong, see, I did not wear my glasses. That's what happens.
1,087.
There it is, sorry.
That's it.
I did just have my prescriptions redone too. That's not helping either. Okay, so, yay, this is what it's supposed to look like. So this property is zoned agriculture within the city. It's on Lynn Road. There, at one point in time, there's a kind of a foundation of a house here. What the owner would like to do is subdivide the property to a less than an acre lot. In A1, the minimum lot size is 3 acres, but they want to be able to sell this to their daughter who wants to build a house there. And so in order to do that, R2 would be an appropriate zoning district, and that's what they would like to do. I'm going to just scroll through this, but just if you didn't get a chance to drive down Lynn Road, this is kind of a nice picturesque of where they would like to build their house. And it's a pretty simple request, so if you have any questions, it's probably the easier way to go.
Any questions of staff?
Just clarification, why did they not rezone just the part they're selling to build the house on?
Mostly kind of as a future planning. Agriculture is probably, this is out by the Walmart, so agriculture may not be what's gonna end up happening out there. So, but just to kind of preserve like a large lot, which is what is in that area, if you've noticed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Open the floor for public comment. Is anyone here to speak before the commission in favor? Please come forward and give your name and address.
My name's Lisa Ginley, and I'm the property owner, and I live at 237 Lynn Road. And basically, what Whitney said, this is all out of luck. My husband grew up on Lynn Road, and he played on that land at 219. So the opportunity came up. My daughter masterminded when the gentleman passed away that owned the property. Her and her dad went and prayed about it one Sunday. And so she contacted the gentleman that owned the property, and he met with us. I mean, it's just been a God thing. He sold it to us, and her fiance proposed to her on this land, and they would like to make their home. She wants to stay close to home, to mom and dad, because she had a great childhood, so she says. That's what she tells me. And so I just, come before you all and ask that this be granted.
Thank you.
I don't think we can turn that down.
I just want to know, did she say that before this started?
Do what now?
Did she tell you you were a great parent, you had a great time before this started, this
Yeah, right
negotiation?
before, right as we were getting up, she's like, go ahead. She sure did. She's like, you can tell him that, Mom. And that's all I have. Thank you
Ms.
for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Any other comments from the floor? Any discussion? I'll close the floor for public comment, seeing no others. Any discussion or compliments or celebrations? Or motions?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and grant, change the district from A1 to R2.
Second.
All right, any discussion about the motion to grant the rezoning request from A1 to R2 at 219 Lynn Road?
I just want to see if we're going to get invited to the wedding. You see, I'm sure it's going to be out on the property too, right? Yeah.
Just want to say now that maybe it's because the R2, so that they can further subdivide later for future generations.
For future generations. All right, hearing no other discussion formally amongst the commission, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbine?
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart?
An enthusiastic yes.
Motion has been
Good luck.
approved.
Okay.
Good luck.
Ms. Voren, are you here? You're hiding behind the screen. I think you're up next for an agenda, de-annexation question.
I feel like I just watched a movie. It was so emotional. How do I follow that up? Oh. All right, Commissioners, in front of you, I have Ordinance 4794-21, which is a request to de-annex approximately half an acre at the intersection of Gray Station Road and Delmer Salts Road. So this right here is the property in question. As you guys can see, this is all out in the county. This is the city, so it currently makes a sort of snaggletooth of sorts. And Mr. Roger and his wife Regina Varan actually own this property and this property to the north. So he is requesting a de-annexation so that both this property and this property can be out in the county. Now, in 2018, the City Commission adopted a de-annexation policy that basically had these 6 criteria for de-annexation. And the request meets all 6 of the criteria. I'm happy to dive into any of those if you have specific questions regarding any of them. And I will leave you guys with a vicinity map. And staff recommends approval. And this did already go to City Commission for first reading, and then it comes back to you guys, and then it'll go back to City Commission for 2 additional more readings. And it was approved on that first reading.
Thank you.
So it goes to city council first?
It's gone to them
On
already.
on a de-annexation, the
It goes to
city
you guys first.
council is the only one that can begin that
Oh,
process.
okay. I didn't know that.
So it just bounces around a little different.
When was this property originally annexed?
It was a part of the involuntary Suncrest annexation. I believe it was in 2012.
2012?
And we de-annexed much of that property in
Mhm.
2018, I think.
As a one lump sum, or, I just wondered how this one got left out. I see.
A lot of people have the same question. I think the
Sorry.
property
We
owner
don't have
has
an
the
answer to
same
that
question as well.
I'm going to open the floor for public comment and allow the commission to ask staff questions if there are any, but I'm going to open the floor if you're here to speak to the question. You have any?
Commissioners, I'm Roger Varan. I live at 1284 Gray Station Road.
Next door.
And we don't understand why it never got de-annexed either. All the properties that adjoin us on Gray Station Road, when that de-annexation happened, all of that got de-annexed except for our little half acre there. So, and I had sent Mr. Mitchell several requests via email, and according to Mr. Tim Hicks, that I've been in contact with also, this was the procedures that had to take place, was to go before the city commission first and then to you all for, you know, the approval of getting this de-annexed. So,
Okay, thank you.
so that's.
I apologize to you that it's taken so long.
No, that's no problem. It's just, you know, we were like, what happened, you know, why is this little half acre not got de-annexed? We just couldn't understand it, so. But I don't believe it'll be a problem. I don't foresee it, I mean.
It's vacant land,
Yes,
correct? Yeah.
yes, it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
Now, the property that's behind us that adjoins Bobby Hicks has been zoned commercial, and I believe that Dr. McGinnis owns that property. So that's between us and Bobby Hicks Highway, and that's still in the city limits though, so,
Okay,
okay.
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, thank you.
Any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. Any conversation or questions, further discussion of this topic amongst the commission? I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve de-annexation of property, ordinance 4794.
All right,
Second
thank
motion.
you. Second, did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Oshenbein. All right, any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbine,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
All right, Mr. Ryder, we're up on a Hawks Landing subdivision final plat, I believe.
About knocked the podium down, I stepped up.
Throw things.
Feet were asleep after waiting, legs were asleep after waiting that long. Good evening, Chairman Dagenhart, Vice Chairman Whitfield, Commissioners. This is the final plat approval for the Hawk Landing. This one has been in the works for some time. 7 single-family lots totaling 3.53 acres. Preliminary plat approval was granted back in November of 2019. There's also a road dedication of 0.08 miles of the extension of Mitzvah Hills Drive. You can see by this picture here that the road work has been completed. I will make, there have been 2 changes to the final plat from the packet that were sent out. They're minor changes. One, I asked the developer to add a note here that the city of Johnson City is not responsible for maintaining the traffic calming devices if landscaping is involved. And these 2 easements here for water were added to the plat. So, minor changes, 2 changes that needed to be put on the plat. So those were the 2 alibis from the report that went out. There is a bond associated with this plat for the water quality record drawing. Cash bond of $5,000, which the developer posted on November 3rd. And we are recommending approval of the final plat and that you accept the $5,000 cash bond.
Did I understand that the bond has already been posted?
The bond was posted on November 3rd, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wright, can you just remind me what a water quality record drawing is?
Water quality record drawing is a drawing prepared by the engineer to ensure that the water quality device is built the way that it was supposed to be built. And it's actually part of the as-built. The original estimate, and Mr. Hawk, and we certainly appreciate him wanting to get a great deal of the work done prior to coming in for final platting, did not want to post the bond, or did not want to post bonds, and that's his prerogative, and I applaud him for that. The as-built bond, if the as-built in their entirety would have been $10,000, the water quality record drawing, part of that. So the estimate was dropped to $5,000. He has posted that bond.
Great.
Could you point out on the plat where that water quality structure is?
Yes, in here.
Okay. It's not part of any of the lots, right? Who owns that?
It's part of lots 5 and part 6.
Okay.
It's on the very top of the hill up there.
It is
in
at the
this one,
very
yeah.
end of Mitzvah Hills, yes, ma'am. At the edge of the city limits.
And there's some additional space up there for future development as well.
Yes. The lot here is owned by Mr. Hawk, who's also the applicant and developer of this property. So Mr. Hawk owns all of this property back here. And I believe his intention, I don't think he would mind me saying, I think he stated at the preliminary, this plat's changed reviewer so many times from all the turnover that we've had. It's, you know, I have to go back and remember, but I believe he intends to build a house for himself on the property.
We need the housing stock.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Yes, sir.
I'll open the floor for public comment. Mr. Hawk, you're here. You have anything to tell us?
My name's Bill Hawk, 39 Single Tree Court, and appreciate y'all working with me. I'd like to start off with saying one thing. I want to brag on the staff. We've had a whole change of attitude in the city I've seen over the time here. It's just amazing to me that our attitude is going from why are you bothering me to what can I do to help you. So I want to brag on everybody here. That goes a long way. Nobody says thank you enough.
It's great to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah. To answer the question on if it's okay for me to talk.
Yes,
yeah.
please, go feel free.
Lots 5 and 6 there, the city requires you to actually formally record a document that says the owners in 5 and 6, I have to take care of it in perpetuity unless I get the buyers of that to sign that same document saying they will take care of the easement in perpetuity. So the city doesn't maintain that drainage basin. It's up to the landowner to maintain it. And so that's why it is part of those lots, but you can see the shaded area is where it is. And the engineer, it's like so hard to get anybody to do anything right now. Everybody's crazy busy, and the engineer just didn't have time to get the drawing done. The surveying company did all the as-builts, and this was just the engineer's part to do this record drawing for the, certify that it was built to his plans. And hopefully it'll be done within a month. I get my $5,000 back, but yeah, the original bond was like $17,000. I was like, I'm not in a hurry, so I'll just wait till we get more done, and that's what's gone on. And again, it's I've struggled to find grading contractors, to find paving. I mean, you just can't get anything done like you used to, and which is great, I guess, for everybody. But it's beautiful up there. Y'all are welcome to come out and look. I mean, I have got the best views in town. From those lots up on top up there, on a really clear evening, you can see the lights at Sugar Mountain up there. So, I mean, they're awesome. And I've got 8 acres. I've got 3 grandchildren, and I'm thinking, hey, I want them to have a little bit of a farm life like I grew up, and I plan on building up there. Maybe getting too old to build, but I guess got to live somewhere. But I'd like for them to have, experience that freedom of larger acreage brings with it. If neighbors don't kill me, I'd actually, at some point in time, like to have 4 or 5 calves and let them graze all summer, and then let them sell them off, and that'll be their money, and see where money comes from.
That's good.
Are you adopting any grandchildren?
Maybe.
That are in their 30s.
Yeah. No, how old are you? No.
Thank you for coming before us,
Yeah.
Mr. Hawk. Any
Happy
questions?
to answer questions.
One question on will we have any kind of buffering there on the detention area behind 5
No,
and
it's
6?
actually part of the lot.
Oh, okay.
So
It'd just be kind of a swale.
It's just
in
a
the back.
swale, it'd be a grass swale. It should fill up with water, during the storm event. and then be mowed and grass the rest of the time. I could see, probably will sell them to builders seem to buy most of the lots, not homeowners. I could see a builder putting something back there. If I was gonna live on that lot, I would probably put a privacy fence even, and just because the lots are big enough to where you've still got a really nice backyard without that. My son-in-law and daughter are gonna move into that lot 7, and we're working hard on getting it, just like the lady before, we're trying to build out of pocket with no loan, and takes time to do that, but we're getting there.
Do you hope to be able to transfer maintenance responsibilities to the new lot owners, or do you want to retain?
Yes, no, I'd love to, but.
I just wanted to make sure I understood
Yeah,
correctly.
no, it is, it's a big responsibility, but really it's just saying, hey, I can't go down there and change it tomorrow, once I get it approved. I've got to keep it and maintain it, and you can't go down there and start throwing junk at it or filling it up, or, it's for a purpose, and it's gotta stay that way.
Okay.
There shouldn't be anything go wrong with it, other than city might come back and say, hey, you need to mow it more often, or something like that.
I would think the homeowners would want it to
They
look
will,
nice
they'll
anyway,
want it to
they'll
look
take
good.
care of it, yeah.
And that nice of a neighborhood, I'm gonna ask $150,000 per lot, so I don't think somebody's gonna let it grow up, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Any other
you.
questions for
Thank
Mr.
you.
Beck?
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? I'll close the floor. Any discussion amongst us? Any other questions for staff? I hear a motion.
I move to approve the final plat as presented.
Second.
Second, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Deannexation?
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Ryder, we've got a right-of-way abandonment in downtown Johnson City.
Do this in reverse order tonight. I'm going to give you the recommendation up front, just because of approving authority from a couple different bodies that are involved here. And if I'm still alive at the end of this presentation, you'll see it again at the end. The recommendation on this is that the staff recommends the city of Johnson City abandon the public rights-of-way as delineated on the plat. And then the second motion would be to approve the King Commons Park final plat contingent upon the Board of Commissioners abandoning the public rights-of-way as delineated on the map, which you're here to see. I just did that up front just so you can keep in mind that you all have final approval on subdivision plats. The City Commission has final approval on rights-of-way abandonment. We have a plat here that has a right-of-way abandonment on it, so we would like to get everything done up front as much as we can. So you would be recommending, if you choose to do so, to abandon the public rights-of-way. It would go to the City Commission. And then this plat, if you decide to approve it, which consolidates 9 lots into one, includes these public rights-of-way, that would go into effect after the Board of Commissioners approves it on third reading. So I thought it might just be beneficial to state that up front at the beginning of the presentation.
Yep.
This is a city-initiated request. This is King Commons Park downtown, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. It's located in the B2 zoning district. What we are, this map that GIS, I think this really nails it. They did a really good job on this map. These red hashed areas are the areas that we're requesting abandonment of these rights-of-way. This was an old alley. I believe Monty told me that there was a giant food store at one point that this alley ran between. Obviously, there's nothing there now. This portion of West King Street and this portion of McClure Street.
How was there a food store on that hill?
It sat down on the flat part there. I remember, I was a kid and we used to go shop there.
Whoa.
I can
okay.
verify it. And the green stamp store was next door.
Was Monty stocking when you used to go?
Could have been.
I think Monty's a little older.
Not much.
This is a look at the final plat. As you can see, there are, these are lettered, so, but there are 9 lots. This would be a consolidation of the 9 lots. It's all city-owned property. There's no plan to sell this off for development, to sell these lots for any particular reason. So we kind of have there are a lot of areas probably in the city where we'd like to do more of these types of things, where we have these multiple lots, and it makes sense to combine them from 9 into 1. When you do that, then those rights of way come into question because they separate the lots. There are existing utilities under this portion of West King Street. There's a water main from the City of Johnson City Water and Sewer Department. There's also a 2-inch gas main for Atmos Energy. Those are taken care of. There's a note on the plat designating this portion of West King Street as a utility easement. So no issues there. And this is a final plat. Our city surveyor, he stamps preliminary until the final approval. So we'll get copies of this when the Secretariat's time to sign it. It will not say preliminary on it at that time. This is the portion of West King Street we're asking you to close. You can see that vehicular traffic is prevented by bollards on either end. It does not function as a road. It's currently used for pedestrian use only. Did speak with risk management prior to this, before I prepared the staff report. There is no additional liability for the city of this not being a road anymore and this being part of the park. And as you can see, it's already serving as part of the park, so there's really little reason for this to remain, no reason for this to remain open. Same with the portion of McClure Street. I think this picture shows it pretty well. This little area, this is what we're basically asking to close. It's a part of the park, and it's just like the previous slide. Vehicular traffic's prevented by these bollards. And this is the best picture of them all. This is your alley here, or what used to be an alley, and I just threw that up there just so you can see that it is indeed no longer an alley. No known utilities. These were the comments. Anytime we do a right-of-way abandonment, we send it out to various departments and agencies, both internal to the city and private agencies. No issues with the abandonment. I've already discussed the utility easements, the utilities under West King Street. Staff would recommend that the City of Johnson City abandon the public rights-of-way as delineated on the plat and approve the King Commons Park final plat contingent upon the Board of Commissioners abandoning the public rights-of-way as delineated on the map.
Very thorough. All right, questions for staff? No questions.
Does the second one come back to the planning commission after it's?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. And that was really the intent of doing it this way. We could have come to you with, here are the rights of way, do you recommend to approve it, and then come back with the final plat. But if you make if you approve it contingent upon the Board of Commissioners, then this is it for the plat.
All right, I'll open the floor for public comment. Is anyone here to speak to the question? I don't see anybody. I'll close the floor. So any further discussion amongst the commission or questions?
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, you want to phrase it or you want to read it off the board?
I'm going to read off the board. Make a motion that the city abandon the rights-of-way as is delineated in the plat and approve the Kings Common Park final plat contingent upon the Board of Commissioners abandoning the rights-of-way as delineated.
Did I hear you? You seconded? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendations as presented. I'm not going to read them again. Any other discussion? Katie, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Eichenline?
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Deannexation.
Yes.
Motion has been approved as stated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
All right, we have one more topic on the agenda that I see Ms. Boren, do you have a report for us for the question about South Rome Street at University Parkway?
Yes, I just have a quick update from you guys. So I know at the last meeting, there was some concern over the fencing that was under TDOT's jurisdiction. Since the last meeting, Mr. Penzola has sent a letter as requested by Mr. Berry, the applicant, to the TDOT officials that he was working with. Pretty much just stating that the city of Johnson City supports the initial driveway location that would require the removal of that control strip fencing. I spoke with Mr. Berry actually yesterday, and he is still in conversation with TDOT right now. So he has requested deferral for this meeting as they're still trying to work out kind of what's going to happen. But the city has done our part, and it's up to TDOT right now.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any questions?
Guess we have to.
How long
decide.
can we defer this? Is there a time limit?
I mean, I don't know if you can
Can we
defer it
leave it
indefinitely
open
or if you
for-
have to defer it
for-
to the next meeting.
To another specific date?
Okay.
Will he have it done
Yeah, I
by
think we could do
the
it for
meeting?
December, a deferral to December.
I would go ahead and just defer to December in
Do we
case
know
it's
when
ready
the
at that
TDOT
point.
meeting is?
Sorry, I
The
didn't-
TDOT meeting where they would decide this, do we know when that is? Because that would lead us to know when to postpone the meeting too. Okay.
They have to have a meeting or?
Yeah, there's a.
I don't know how that resolution will be, appear to us.
I'll make a motion that we defer this until our December meeting,
Yeah,
planning
second.
commission meeting.
Right,
Give staff and TDOT
Yeah.
time to work on it.
Seconded by Mr. Oceanbine. Any further discussion? All right, call the roll, please, for that deferral.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbine,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodey,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman David Meyer.
Yes.
Motion has been deferred until the December 2021 meeting.
All right, is there any other business come before us today? If not, I'll call adjournment to the meeting. Thank you very much and have a safe trip home. Lightning speed.
Smoking.